This is The Close-Up. Conversations about creativity. From our studios in Los Angeles, here is Jim Chabin.
And how many people work on a movie like Inside Out from beginning to end?
I think the crew is probably around 400 strong. And so there'll be a smaller crew at first through the story setting period, doing the storyboards, and an editing crew putting it all together. But by the time we're getting into actual animation and layout and lighting and effects, there's a crew of many hundred people working on it.
You lead the 3D team at Pixar. What were the decisions and the discussions and the debates in how and where to use 3D in the movie?
Yes, so we had this unique environment called headquarters, and this is sort of the control center for Riley's brain, and it's where these emotions live. And up in headquarters is a large screen through which Riley sees the world as it unfolds before her. Also on that screen, we're seeing her memories played back. Also on that screen, we're seeing her dreams as she sleeps. And so this was a very central window into the world. And as the Stereoscopic Supervisor, I, of course, felt like we had to do that in 3D. So we could experience Riley's walking through school, for instance, in stereo space on that screen, or remembering some of her memories in 3D. The challenge was we had a lot of raking angles and different sort of views of that screen while we were in headquarters. And that presented problems because we weren't quite sure how the 3D would react to different camera angles glancing across the 3D screen and so forth. It's a bit like, imagine shooting a 3D movie inside a movie theater which is playing a 3D movie as you're shooting your movie. And so we had to make some very careful decisions about how that screen would look from all the different angles that we were shooting within headquarters. And it turns out to be very successful. There was hesitance about doing it because of this angle problem, and so we selected a scene where Riley's emotion in headquarters is actually ice skating with Riley on screen in a memory of Riley back in Minnesota on her favorite lake. And that was such a beautiful moment to see in 3D space Joy ice skating with Riley on the screen, and it felt like they were in the same space and really related to one another because it was in 3D, that was the final selling point, that yes, let's push ahead and make sure that every element on that screen is also in stereo or in 3D.
The screening I saw was with a lot of families, and the parents were laughing as often and as loudly as the kids. What is it about a Pixar movie where you're able to really entertain two very distinct demographics in that movie theater at the same time, all of them leaving with a joyful feeling? 98% Rotten Tomatoes approval. These movies have an ability to do something that not many animated movies do. What is it?
Thank you, Jim. I think it comes down to our directors and our creative leads really making films that they want to see. And so they're essentially making movies for themselves as adults, and they just have, big hearts and humor that sort of appeals to children. It's not like we're making children's movies and hoping the adults will come. I think we're making movies for ourselves and our own sense of humor and our own sense of heart and storytelling, and that just happens to result in these wonderful all ages experiences.
The cast includes Amy Poehler, Bill Hader, Louis Black, Kyle MacLachlan, John Ratzenberger. When do you bring the actors in to do the voice recording?
Really pretty early in the process. We'll oftentimes do a very preliminary storyboard pass with internal voices just to get some pacing going and see how the film is playing. But shortly after that, we want to cast our final voices and get them in, because all of the animation that follows is cued off of their performance. Every gesture, every movement is going to be based on how they delivered the line, at what speed they delivered the line, when they delivered the line. So it's very important that we get that talent in early so that we can
your animators are watching that material to make those characters all the more realistic.
Very much so. So the director and editorial staff will comb through every possible delivered take and make choices, and sometimes we'll be, splicing in different words from different takes to make the sentence that is just exactly perfect, and then that will go to the animators and they will react to that.
The Close-Up is produced by the Advanced Imaging Society in Hollywood and powered by Barco.